person was white. This is why your grandparents banned Tarzan and the Lone Ranger and toys with white faces from the house. They were rebelling against the history books that spoke of black people only as sentimental first. First black five-star general, first black congressman, first black mayor, always presented in the bemused manner of a category of trivial pursuit. Serious history was West and the West was white. This was distilled in me in a quote I once read from novelist Saul Bellow. I can't remember where I read it or when, only that I know. Who is the Toy Story of the Zulus? The second piece is by Nikki Giovanni. She says, every time I see the statue of Lincoln sitting below the Emancipation Proclamation, I want to have a statue of Frederick Douglass standing behind him guiding his hand. I could see that Lincoln was an interesting man, an interesting white man who did the right thing finally by freeing the slaves in states where he had no power to enforce his decree. But hey, why be so picky? He did it true, but not for me. But I know that I do not owe people any great affection or loyalty. They do not love me. That, by way, means I live in a narrow world, well, maybe not so narrow. Maybe a more accurate way of looking at this is that I will not have my world nor my worth determined by people who mean me ill. Unlike Du Bois and his latter-day children, I do not measure my soul by the tape of the white world. When you're talking about Wes's comments, the comments he made, he is a man who grew up in the South, who has suffered from the legacy of slavery. And for people, including you, Mike Signer, to call his comments troubling, like you were never a man and never 23 and never insulted anybody, is very concerning. We live in a community where we hide behind the pretense. You all want Wes to come out here and apologize. Wes doesn't owe any of us an apology for tweets that a young man wrote when he was 23. You all want him to come forward and keep begging for forgiveness. He does not have to beg for forgiveness. I have repeatedly said to Wes, you owe nobody an apology. I hope he apologized to Miss Wine Fine or Fine Wine in 2009, okay? But that was her, and that was whatever was going on with them. We do not know the context of any of those tweets in 140 characters. We don't. And to allow somebody like Jason Kessler to influence how you all responded to Wes, you all should be ashamed. Not just the alt-right, but the progressive liberals in this town who hide behind pretense.
Jeffrey Fogle.